Hello and welcome to LME506 Module 1, the Bibliographic Universe and the Library. There are two types of universes in the library. There is the physical bibliographic universe, which is the world of books, magazines, CDs, and DVDs that you would find when you enter into the library building. Typically, there is a standard arrangement. Fiction typically is arranged by author, alphabetically. Nonfiction is arranged by discipline or class, typically Dewey Decimal or Library of Congress. Reference also arranged by class, Dewey Decimal or Library of Congress. And biography by discipline or biography. Typically, biographies are shelved either in a special section called biography in the 920 section of the Dewey Decimal, or shelved in the discipline that the famous person is most known for being involved in. Then we have the virtual bibliographic universe, the world of the online public access catalog. In the online public access catalog, or OPAC, order does not matter because the OPAC is searchable in a variety of different ways. Essentially, this virtual bibliographic universe is a representation of the library's collection in all of its formats, in both its physical formats and virtual formats. So therefore, books, magazines, DVDs, as well as websites and electronic resources will all be located under the same subject headings, keywords, and classifications in the online public access catalog. So, for example, you can look in the OPAC and see a book on Alice in Wonderland and a DVD on Alice in Wonderland, but you can also find a number of websites and electronic articles about Alice in Wonderland as well. These electronic resources are not resources that you would typically find on a library shelf, and enables a library to vastly expand its holdings outside its physical walls. In order to assist with expanding the bibliographic universe of individual libraries, a federated catalog search will help users find all physical and virtual items that can be contained in the catalog and accessed through the library. So, for example, here is an example from the WorldCat catalog. It is a very large library catalog, one of the largest in the world, and it has federated searching capabilities. So when we search for Alice in Wonderland in WorldCat, you see that we have retrieved both books, videos, DVDs, as well as, when you look on the left-hand side, there's over 500 internet resources also associated with this search term. So this is an example of how a library catalog can contain both the physical and virtual bibliographic universe of an individual library. So what librarians do when they're doing classification and cataloging is that they are organizing the bibliographic universe. Cataloging is the process for creating a library record for an item in a library catalog based on professional standards. Currently, the professional standard is Resource Description and Access, or RDA. This standard has replaced the Anglo-American Cataloging Rules Second Revision quite recently. And we will be using this standard when we catalog records in this class. Another standard used is the MARC record, or Machine Readable Catalog Record. It is the computer code that is used to display the library catalog records in the standardized format that you see in every online catalog library. And so we will be using MARC record standards when we are also cataloging records in this class. Classification is the process of assigning to each item a place in the library based on its discipline or class using a standard classification system. In classification, typically school libraries use the Dewey Decimal classification. Academic libraries use the Library of Congress classification. And all call numbers in a library are based on either the Dewey Decimal, Library of Congress, or the European system called the Universal Decimal Classification. Also, when librarians are doing subject heading analysis, they are describing items and its intellectual contents using a controlled vocabulary. And there are two standard lists of subject headings, the Library of Congress subject headings and the Sears list of subject headings. We will be using both of these subject heading lists when we are doing subject heading analysis in this class. So as an example of how these different standards are used in creating a catalog record, here is a catalog record of Alice in Wonderland. And you can see for the title, the author, the publisher, and the standard number information, descriptive cataloging standards are used. These are all created using Anglo-American cataloging rules and resource description and access rules. For classification, you see down at the bottom there is a subject heading that's comprised partly of the Library of Congress classification system. And then subject headings have been applied to this item. You can see here that fantasy is a subject heading that has been applied, and Alice juvenile fiction. These both are from the Library of Congress subject heading list. So you can see from this catalog record that there's a number of different standards that are used to create records, and this is the reason why when you go from library catalog to library catalog, you will see items displayed in a similar format. So let's talk a little bit about exactly what a library catalog is. Catalogs essentially are lists of library holdings, and originally that's what they were. Catalog lists can be contained in printed, microform, hard catalogs, and most recently, electronic catalog format. There are two entities that are responsible for contributing the standards and processes for developing library catalogs, particularly the electronic catalogs we have today. In the 1900s, the Library of Congress began the Shared Catalog Card Initiative. And this created standards for how all libraries display catalog records. Also, the Library of Congress developed a list of subject headings to catalog items in its own library, and by default became the standards for subject headings for all libraries. The Online Computer Library Center, or OCLC, is a very important library consortium founded in the 60s when electronic catalogs came onto the scene. Their shared cataloging tools and librarians use these tools and then contribute their records to one of the largest catalogs in the world called WorldCat. So then by default, OCLC became one of the largest providers of cataloging records. OCLC also is the owner of the Dewey Decimal Classification. So as an example of these two very large library catalogs, there is a display here of records that are contained in both the Library of Congress and WorldCat catalog. You see at the top the Library of Congress online catalog, and you see their resources that they make available to users. Most importantly for this class are the mark tags, and you see that tab across the top. And then over in the top right corner, the Library of Congress authorities. These are where the subject headings are. So this is a very important resource we will be using in class. Also, WorldCat is a very important resource for cataloging records, which we will use, and you can see that it is a much richer visual display for items. Also, because it has federated capabilities, you can see that when you enter in your zip code in the bottom of the screen, it will display items in libraries near you. So these are two examples of library catalogs and their institutions that have contributed to the development of the cataloging field, and also particularly electronic cataloging. Now let's talk about the functions of the catalog. Classification and cataloging involves ever-changing technologies, standards, and procedures, but function pretty much in the same way. And this is because the principles behind the catalogs have not really changed since Charles Cutter created the rules for a dictionary catalog in 1876. According to Cutter, the functions of a catalog should be, number one, to find an item when the author, title, and subject are known. Number two, to find what the library has on a given author, title, and subject. Number 3, to assist with the choice of an item by its addition or character. These are what are referred to as the finding, location, and co-location functions of the library catalog. And it allows users, 1, to find an item by its known characteristics. Number 2, to assign a unique location to an item in a catalog. And number 3, to be able to group like items together. So, library catalogs enable the finding function by allowing users to search using a variety of terms. The catalogs enable the location function by assigning classification numbers and call numbers to items in the catalog. And the co-location is through assigning classification numbers and also assigning subject headings. And Cutter created these principles because during the early 1900s, the Carnegie libraries were being established in the communities, and it was very important that these libraries really serve the needs of the user. So according to Cutter, it's all about the users. His most important principle was to put the user first. So when arranging a library or creating a catalog, it's really the convenience of the public that should be first and foremost in the librarian's concern. The library catalog and library arrangement must serve the public over the needs of library catalogers or administrators. And this means that the most logical solutions for arrangements of libraries or catalogs is not always the best for the user. And when the public mind changes, the library must also change. We will revisit Cutter's principles throughout this course because they are a continuing topic of conversation for the library field. For example, how does library classification by Dewey Decimal help users find items? Many people complain that the Dewey Decimal System is very difficult for users to use, especially young children. Another example, do subject headings like Sears and Library of Congress help the user find items, or are they barriers? Is it better that people use a Google-type search to find items? And how does the online library catalog help users find items? How can cataloging and classification serve users better, specifically in a library media center? We will explore these topics as we explore online catalogs and the process of creating catalog records.